Good morning. Welcome to Watershed. We are so happy that you are here this morning. If you would stand, and let's begin this morning by singing together. Ring the bells this time, man. Bid the hatred fare thee well. Give back the pieces of my Jesus. Take your counterfeit to hell. Bang the drums, this means war. Not the kind you're waiting for. We say mercy won't be rationed here. It's what we're fighting for.
All is fair in love and war, and what the hell is loving even for? If we can't sing it loud enough, we'll keep on adding voices up.
Ring the bells, ring the bells, ring the bells, ring the bells. Moving feet, you tiny people, you've been waiting for so long behind your statues and your steeples, cause I hit too close to home. I got made to move the mountains, and I watch that mountain move. It's time for words to fall like fun, sound of us just breaking through.
All is fair in love and war, then what the hell is loving even for? We can sing it loud enough, we'll keep on adding voices up.
Ring the bells, 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 ring the bells. Ring the bells. Call me boy instead of son, and I ain't the only one. Was in the throne room of a kingdom where I found that I belong. I ain't scared, face the fortress, I've seen them fall before. With broken bones you built it, but it crumbles boy by boy.
All is fair in love and war, then what the hell is loving even for? We'll keep on adding voices up.
Ring the bells, 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 ring the bells. This time I mean it. Bid the hatred fare thee well. Give back the pieces of my Jesus. Take your counterfeit to hell.
Well, good morning, Watershed. How we doing? You guys good? Hey, would you do me a favor? This morning, we want to start off on a good note, a little celebratory, right? Would you go ahead and celebrate that with someone else around you? Step out of the aisle, go say hi to somebody, give a handshake, a hug, a high five, and let somebody know you're happy they're here. In the silence, tell me, can you hear the voices calling out of the disappeared? Broken spirit and dormant dreams. How much longer will justice sleep? When a lawless heart is the voice we're hearing, we need freedom, freedom, freedom. How much longer till we sing a new song? And how much longer till we sing a new song? Hearts of sinners too, both have walked away from the destitute. Call them back to sing as one, a song of freedom now, a song to overcome. When the lawless heart is the voice we're hearing, we need freedom, freedom, freedom. How much longer till we sing a new song? Yeah. And how much longer till we sing a new song? And how much longer till we sing a new song? How much longer till we sing a new song? Come on, brother. Come on, brother. Lay your weapons down where the river of justice flows and all oppression drowns. Flows with love and truth. May the old be washed away and hearts be made anew. Come on, brother. Come on, brother. Lay your weapons down where the river of justice flows and all oppression drowns. It flows with life, yet love and truth. May the old be washed away and hearts be made anew. When a lawless heart is the voice we're hearing, we need freedom, freedom, freedom. How much longer till we sing a new song? How much longer? How much longer till we sing a new song? How much longer till we sing a new song? How much longer till we sing a new song?
Do something that we don't often have to do in the summer. I'm going to ask y'all to scoot in a little if you have the opportunity, because normally everyone sort of takes a break in the summer, and y'all were like, nah, we're going to hang out at Watershed. They got good air conditioning, at least in this room, not in the hallway. So yeah, welcome. My name's David, one of the pastors here on staff, and before sort of getting y'all up to speed with some things going on, I just want to celebrate something. I think one of the reasons why y'all have been so willing to hang out here on Sundays is because we have been working really, really hard to make it really, really accessible for y'all to hang out with each other, with people who live near you, not on Sundays, and also on Sundays. Last week, we had another one of our regional collective gatherings, and as you can see on the pictures that we're going to be showing, it was awesome. If you are newer with us and you don't know what regional collectives are, these are our ways of allowing you to, like I said, connect with folks who live by you, because we realize that I know the traffic's not too bad on Sunday morning to get here, but during the week, it's a little different. So we want to just make it as easy as possible for you to meet people who live near you so that y'all can hang out and actually get to know one another. So if you are interested in joining the regional collective that is associated with the part of this area that you live in, or really if you want to do anything else that I'm about to talk about, go to our app. We have a free app, Church Center app, and I would encourage you to download that. It's got a calendar, it's got events, it's got everything, and there you go, magic QR code. You can just take a picture of that, and you'll be off to the races. A few other things just to draw your attention to. The first is that we have 2 opportunities for you to connect here at Watershed during August. Actually, one is at Watershed, one is wherever you have an internet connection. The internet one is Preface. So normally, Preface, which is our sort of where you start if you're newer to Watershed and you want to learn a little bit more about our community, normally that takes place here. But again, like I mentioned, during the week, it can be hard to get here. And some of you have brought some smaller humans into your life whose bedtime schedules aren't always compatible with the Preface experience, even though we do offer free childcare. So this Preface, which starts August 9th, is completely digital. It'll be on Zoom. And we have people tuning in from literally all over the world. From across the country, in California, from South America. We have people who attend Watershed from all over the world. Some of them may be tuning in right now, so hello, if that's you. But please, if it's been difficult for you to attend Preface simply because of the in-person logistics, now is your chance. So sign up for that, QR code, the app, the website, whatever your kind of cup of tea is on that front, you can sign up. What will be happening here is something called Reclamation. That'll be kicking off on the 16th, which is a Wednesday. It's going to be in this building in our kind of multi-purpose room down the hall. You'll be hanging out with me, and we will be talking about the Word. I know, pretty exciting. No, but really we're going to be talking about what does it mean to say, what does the Word of God mean? Is it the Bible? Is it Jesus? Maybe that doesn't work the way that it used to work in sort of the faith expression that we grew up with. So how do we understand this notion of God speaking to us today, God speaking to folks in the past? What does that look like? How might we understand and maybe make that practical in our lives? So that's going to be a 3-week experience, 6:45 to 8:15 here at Watershed on Wednesdays. And childcare is provided at no cost. So again, QR code, app, website, whatever, get signed up. It is going to be a good time. Also coming in the very near future is what I would call our Super Bowl. So at many churches, the Super Bowl is like Easter or Christmas Eve, and we like those things. We celebrate them. They're fun. But our Super Bowl is Charlotte Pride. And so there's a lot coming that you can go onto the Charlotte Pride website to kind of see what the organization, what the city is doing. For our purposes, 2 things we want to draw your attention to. The first is the parade. So don't make plans on August 20th. Actually, don't make plans on August 19th, but I'll tell you about that in a second. Don't make plans on August 20th because you're going to be hanging out with us at the parade. We're going to have logistics as we get a little closer. And make sure that you get your t-shirt outside with our Kindred crew so that we all match and look like really, really intentionally planned out. And then if you just can't wait for the 20th and you want something to do the week prior, there is an interfaith service that happens every single year. It's going to be at Caldwell Presbyterian at 4 p.m. on Sunday the 13th. And this is always just a really profound experience. It's faith communities from all over Charlotte who are inclusive and affirming of LGBTQ folk come together and just celebrate. And so it's totally free, so we would encourage you to take part in that. And then the other thing that I alluded to a second ago that takes place on the 19th, August is super busy, y'all, is, of course, ICU Talks. Oh, where'd she go? There she is. Kim moved, so I pointed to where she used to be. Kim might tell you a little bit more about this in a moment, but ICU Talks is a mental health ministry run by some incredible folks, including our speaker this morning, Kim Honeycutt. And it is August 19th at 6 p.m., and what happens is they bring in speakers, they bring in authors, pastors, theologians, and they talk about the vulnerabilities and challenges that come with mental health. It is always a party. If I didn't say that Pride Weekend was our Super Bowl, I would say that this is our Super Bowl, and so we decided to just kind of combine them for the whole weekend this year. But please sign up for that. It is also totally free, and it is always a profound, meaningful experience. So that's a lot to draw your attention to. So it's just a reminder, really, that everything that we do here is only possible because of all of you. Whether that's showing up, opening up your homes for regional collectives like many of you did last week, showing up and volunteering at things like ICU Talks, plugging in with Kindred and kind of leading us into Pride Weekend. All that is only possible because of your ownership, because of your investment. And the same is true financially. Don't need to belabor it. We have been kind of going through this campaign, nevertheless, where we've been trying to create a sense of clarity when it comes to just what it means to make this place financially sustainable. Y'all have been awesome on that. We are, at least as of last week, I don't think I've seen the updated numbers, we are, I think, 70-some-odd% towards our goal, which we're trying to meet by November. So nothing to say other than thank you. Thank you for leaning in. And I actually want to invite my friend Katie up here. Katie is going to be sharing with you a little bit of her story. Please welcome her. And don't take it from me. Take it from folks like Katie. It's stories like the one you're about to hear, which is why we do what we do. So thank you. Thank you. Welcome. It's lovely to see you all.
First of all, I know you're all here to see Kim Honeycutt. So, but you got to deal with me for 5 to 7 minutes first. So sorry. Also, I'm one of those stubborn people that refuses to get contacts. You know who you are. So, got to deal with this first. All right. So, good morning. My name is Katie Orr-Sharp, and I love Lily Pulitzer. So for those who don't know what that is, good for you. And if you do know what that is, you know it's just about as controversial as politics and religion. So basically, Lily Pulitzer is a clothing brand that looks like, brightly colored flowers and boats and seashells threw up all over it. And I love it. I toned it way down for you today. So I have far more obnoxious outfits, so you are welcome. So I've never felt, this sounds silly, but I've never felt comfortable wearing this to Watershed because I always felt like it didn't fit in. But I figured today would be a good day to walk out of my closet, very literally and figuratively. So this is obviously, a very silly example, but it represents a lot more because, this is who I am. And why should I have to explain it or feel somehow ashamed of it? Why should I have to hide it? Why can't I just go anywhere, especially Watershed, and be exactly who I am without the fear of judgment? Now, this is a pretty trivial example for so many people, plenty of whom are sitting right here in this crowd, because you've had to deal with so much more. You've had to take the brave step of saying exactly who you are and then explain it and defend it over and over without much tolerance or empathy, something that you should never have to do. And sadly, this happens especially often in communities of faith. the one place where people believe that God created each person uniquely, but what they're really saying when they marginalize certain communities or individuals is God made a mistake. But at the same time, they're saying that God doesn't make mistakes. So which is it? So about a year and a half ago, I stood here and gave my backstory. How I grew up in a conservative Christian community, went on a mission trip to tell others why the exact literal doctrine, Christian doctrine, was the only way. But I simultaneously, had a hard time understanding why my own Turkish brother-in-law was Muslim and everyone was trying to convert him. And all I could really think about over and over was, if those same people were born in Istanbul, they likely hold the same beliefs as my brother-in-law. And I couldn't really reconcile that. So eventually, as my world opened up, I moved to downtown Chicago, where I should have felt safe in a large church community, and instead only felt judgment and shame once I got involved. I talked about how my pastor at the time gave a sermon on LGB, not P, don't know what P is. The only three he acknowledged, really, and discussed it as a disability that should be overcome. He said individuals in that community should turn away from their impulses and live a life without experiencing the profoundness of love that they deserve and crave so innately. So that was, pretty much it for me. And it took me a really long time to trust another place, to believe in religion or spirituality, to feel safe and free from judgment. But then years later, I was led here, and I am so incredibly grateful to have found it, as so many of you might feel. Now, there's one thing I said back then that has always bothered me until just 2 weeks ago. At the time, I said, how do we know that what we believe is right? How do we know that the Bible is right at all? And it's haunted me ever since, because I thought, oh, wow, was that the wrong thing to say in church? Did I just cause people to leave because I was speaking on behalf of Watershed? Did I insult anyone's faith? Am I a heathen? Undoubtedly an internal narrative that resurfaced from my childhood shame. But 2 weeks ago, Cedric Lundy gave a phenomenal talk on why it's safe to question the Bible. I would highly, highly recommend that you go back and watch that online if you haven't seen it. I'm telling you guys, my mind was blown by it. When he said, if Genesis says the world was created in 6 days, and we take the Bible literally, as in 6 24-hour days, that's actually problematic. Because, one 24-hour day entails a full rotation of the earth around the sun. But the sun wasn't created until the third day. So right there in that first book at the very beginning of the Bible, we already have some questions to ask. So it took me straight back to that panic I had, from what I said a year and a half ago, and I realized this is the whole point. Internally, I contradicted everything else I said, and that it's okay to question. And I realized where I was standing then and where I'm standing now and why. So I'm going to take a quick pause here because I want to read something from Velvet Elvis, the book that we read in preface here at Watershed, which I recommend if you feel a pull to get more connected. Rob Bell, the author, said, and I'm piecing together a few things here. What if the doctrine of the Bible was seriously questioned? Could a person still love God? Could you still be a Christian? Or does the whole thing fall apart? But if the whole faith falls apart when you re-examine or rethink a singular doctrine, then it wasn't that strong in the first place, was it? This is because a brick is fixed in size. It can't flex or change, because if it does, then it can't fit into the wall. What happens then is that the wall becomes the sum total of the beliefs, the bricks, and God becomes as big as the wall. But God is bigger than any wall. God is bigger than any religion. God is bigger than any worldview. God is bigger than the Christian faith. And the problem with, Brickianity is that walls inevitably keep people out. Later, he says, when you wrestle with the text of the Bible, you walk away limping. And some people have no limp because they've never wrestled with it. But the ones who are limping have had an experience with the living God. Wow. So in closing, if you take away anything from what I say today, I want it to be this. You are in a safe space here. You are allowed to ask questions. You are not judged regardless of who you love or how you identify or how you dress, even if it's so bright and colorful you need sunglasses to look at it. You are loved here, and there are no conditions for that. You can be exactly who you are. You can ask questions. You can feel free to find God or know God deeper and never worry that you don't belong here, because this is your home if you want it to be. Walk bravely and wear your unique self proudly as a badge of honor, regardless of who does or does not accept you, because I am pretty certain that that's how Jesus would want it. Thank you.
Put your makeup on, get your nails done, curl your hair, run the extra mile, keep it slim so they like you. Do they like you? Get your sexy on, don't be shy, girl, take it off. This is what you want, to belong, so they like you. Do you like you? You don't have to try so hard. You don't have to give it all away. You just have to get up, get up, get up, get up. You don't have to change a single thing. You don't have to try. 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 Get your shopping on at the mall, maxi credit cards. You don't have to choose, buy it all, so they like you. Do they like you? Wait a second, why should you care what they think of you when you're all alone by yourself? Do you like you? Do you like you? You don't have to try so hard. You don't have to give it all away. You just have to get up, get up, get up, get up. You don't have to change a single thing. You don't have to try so hard. You don't have to bend until you break. You just have to get up, get up, get up, get up. You don't have to change a single thing. You don't have to try. You don't have to try. You don't have to try. You don't
Well, good morning. Good morning, Watershed. Katie Orshak. That was so good. So well done. Now, I'm a little biased. You know, our good friends. We have this foundation of our friendship. We both love Jesus and serial killers. That's the thing. If y'all can love coffee and Jesus, we can love serial killers and Jesus. So, very well done. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, so I want to show y'all something that's very meaningful to me. And if you're about my age, a little bit older, it might be meaningful to you as well. To some of you a bit younger, this might be a meaningless object, might not really mean anything to you, but it's going to be educational. You'll thank me later. So I'm hoping some of you know what this is. Right? Right? A cassette. This is a cassette tape, for those of you who don't know. Like, this means so much to me, and probably to some of you. I just remember being a little girl, and back then, I need y'all to know, if you're younger, we did not have Google. You could not look up lyrics to a song. You had to actually do the work yourself. And so I remember I would sit with my cassette tape player, which is gigantic for this little thing, right? And I'd hit play, and I'd hear a lyric, and I would write down, right? Y'all with me? I'd write down what I could remember from the song. I had to hit pause, rewind, listen to it again to see if I got it right, and then do that repetitiously over and over again until we got all the lyrics to the song. And inevitably, at some point, you know what happened. You know the tape gets twisted. And then we had to use, yes, this is a pencil. And I'm a little uncomfortable doing this, but I'm really uncomfortable, actually, if you know me. But so inappropriate. But that is how, I'm out. That is how you fix the tape, and then you could play it again, right? And there were just certain songs. There are certain songs that had such meaning to me when I was young. And this obviously is meaningful to some of you. You resonate with this, absolutely, right? But there's certain songs that had meaning to me, and then I got older and then heard it with more life experience, more life influence, and you hear it completely differently. It has a very different meaning to it in time. And then also you might learn what the writer, the original writer, what they meant by the lyrics, and it takes on a whole different meaning. So we're going to test you a little bit today. We got some songs for you. So I just want you to listen to a few seconds, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about the song, okay? Are you ready? All right, let's do the first song.
On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair, warm smell of colitas rising up through the air.
Such a good song. What song is that? Yes, by the Eagles. Yes, such good music. Hotel California. So I was a little girl, the meaning of this song was about a hotel in California. That was it. That's as far as I could take it, right? And so I know today it has multiple meanings. One of the main themes of it was about greed. It has a different meaning. We get life experiences. We get informed differently, and it means something different. All right, second song.
Every now and then I fall apart, and I need you now tonight.
Yeah,
And
go.
I need you more than ever. And if you only
Y'all are the most Pentecostal this church has ever been. Like, this is amazing, right? This is so great. Such a great song. You can't not sing that song, right? It's such a great song. But, the meaning of it when I was growing up, it was just a silly love song, and it was sweet. The song is actually about loving someone who's not emotionally available for you. And no matter what you do, that it's not enough and you feel like you're not enough. Now it has different meaning to me, right? Life experiences changes that. Okay, we gotta do this one more time. It's too much fun. One more song, please.
Dancing in the moonlight, everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine and natural sight. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight.
Y'all are the most gay y'all have ever been. Like, this is amazing. I love y'all. This is so good. All right, so that was easier, Dancing in the Moonlight. So it's a very lighthearted, wonderful song. But the original, the writer, Sherman Kelly, what he meant by it was his recovering from a very traumatic experience he and his girlfriend went through. It was his way of reclaiming what it means to be at the beach and what it means to be okay again. And once you learn that, the song has a whole different meaning. It's complicated. So that's what I want to talk about today. Today, the name of this talk is It's Complicated. And I want to talk about our personal relationship with Jesus. What makes it personal? What gives it meaning? And what allows the relationship with Jesus or with anyone? What informs it? What lets it be your relationship? So this series, Textuality, to me, means that we're kind of breaking down theology and intersectionality. Let me tell you what intersectionality is. This is a term developed and coined by a brilliant woman named Kimberly Crenshaw. And I will not bring justice to the meaning of it. It's so rich and there's such depth to it. But she brought in this idea that we get into an intersection based on your life experiences, based on your age, sexual orientation, gender, financial situation, physical disabilities, mental struggles, being neurodivergent. There's a variety of things that you get to an intersection that someone else may see it differently. You have a very different lens, and it makes it unique, makes it special, makes it personal. And then theology, we know the definition of theology is a study of God's nature, and that theology is one lens and one lens only. And so with intersectionality, it becomes something else. It becomes something different. And from that, we have queer theology. We have black theology. We got feminist theology. And part of the foundation for feminist theology had to do with women could not grasp the idea of a parent, because God's portrayed as a father would allow his son to die. There's a woman that could not grasp that idea, and so that's part of why feminist theology has a different lens. And then there's womanist theology, which is black women not being able to completely see themselves through black theology and feminist theology. And it gives a different intersection, a different perspective. And then, for me, I can see through a lot of these lenses, but that my lens, the thing that really helps me is psychology. It's the intersection of psychology and theology. And it's about all I have. And so that may be boring for some of you, but it's the only lens I have. And I'm surprised I even have a lens, so I'll take it. I even asked the teaching team recently, we were talking about how the part of the value of a teaching team is that different theologies, different intersections are brought to you each week. And I asked, I said, isn't me having the view of psychology and theology coming together, isn't that why y'all brought me to the teaching team? And Blair quickly said, no, it's because of Larissa. And then Sean said, no, it's because of your car. I was like, those are all good reasons, right? I'll take it. But my lens of psychology and theology is the only thing I can do is just how I see things. So I want to take that lens, that intersection, and today unpack Mark 8:34. So let me read this to you. This is Jesus when he called to the crowd along with the disciples, and he said, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. Now that sounds like a simple scripture, but it's complicated It's complicated based on what has informed you, what has influenced you, and what has brought you to your lens of how you hear this and see this. And my original meaning, what this scripture meant to me initially when taught to me, is very different than what it means to me today. When I was 15 years old, I had this experience, and I used to hang out with these three sisters. They're the Carter sisters, and so the mom was Mrs. Carter, and she's a devout Catholic to this day. She still is. And so I went to their house to wait on Heather and Casey, and I don't know, they were probably at the library. They were probably doing something good. I don't know what they were doing. But I was at their house waiting on them. And so Mrs. Carter offered me a glass of wine. Ma'am, yes, ma'am. So I took the wine, and I drank it. I slammed it, and then I slammed down the empty glass. And she said, "That is not how you drink wine." And so I said, "Well, then I'll never drink it again." Because I don't think Mad Dog 2020 is really wine. So that's totally different. Different experience. And I honestly don't remember if I put the wine glass down on top of a Bible or what happened, but the next thing she's telling me is she's reprimanding me and telling me, like, you don't ever put anything on top of a Bible. And this fear came into me. She gave me this idea that God will abandon me or reject me simply for putting something on top of a Bible. Therefore, to this day, if I see something on top of the Bible, or if I'm reaching and I see that's where it's going to land, like, I can immediately recall from that, from this first meaning, this first understanding that that's all it takes for God to abandon me or reject me. Now, there's 3 criteria that come into your life as a child that build up and it leads to how much anxiety you have around your fear of being rejected or abandoned in relationships. So I want to share those with you very briefly. The first, and this has to do with your comfort level, how comfortable you are with closeness. And closeness means being emotionally available and having someone else be emotionally available to you. That impacts you. How you get taught around comfort, around dependence. And that means that someone can depend on you and you can depend on them. And for a lot of us, there's a lot of avoidance when it comes to that. We learn that someone can depend on us, but we want to avoid the idea of depending on them. And you can get different mixtures of that. Your comfort around closeness emotionally then builds your comfort around dependence, or if you avoid dependence on somebody. And then that ties in to your understanding of how comfortable you are around the idea of conflict. And I'm not talking confrontation where people are yelling and screaming. I'm talking about just if there's a rupture, there's conflict, your ability to speak into that and to be able to say what you need to say to somebody, your comfort around that. All 3 of these lead to how much anxiety you have around fear of abandonment or rejection in relationships today. All of these build up and dictate if your fear of anxiety, your anxiety of your fear of being abandoned or rejected is fueling and engineering your relationships today, and that includes with Jesus. And if you're kind of wondering, how do I know if this is something that I struggle with, I've got 5 statements for you. That if you think of these things, if this is something that comes in or dictates what you do, these 5 I statements can kind of give you an idea of how much this is directing you. So the first is I don't need anyone. The second is I need to be needed. That's not a real need, by the way. But it's very easy to believe I need to be needed. I need power and control instead of connection. I will never be that weak to have needs. That was mine, y'all. I don't want to hurt their feelings. So these are all indications that you're concerned about actually showing up in the relationship, being there, that you'll get rejected if you have to show up with what you need and who you are, your specialness, what you need personally. And if this resonates, what happens for people is that you go into a pattern, and the relationship doesn't have new meaning, it just means the same thing. That you get controlled by your fear of abandonment, and so instead of it being special and unique and personal, instead it just becomes habitual. And there's times that we need someone to intervene and help us to know if we are actually personally in the relationship, if it's special, or if we're just fighting constantly to not be rejected. There's 2 stories in the Bible that I want to read to you that I think helps me kind of show the lens of psychology and theology around this. And the first one is it's Luke 5:18 through 26. So I want to read that to you. So here we go. Some men took a man who was not able to move his body to Jesus. He was carried on a bed. They looked for a way to take the man into the house where Jesus was, but they could not find a way to take him in because of so many people. They made a hole in the roof of where Jesus stood, and they let the bed with the sick man on it down before Jesus. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the man, "Friend, your sins are forgiven." The teachers of the law and the proud religious law keepers thought to themselves, "Who is this man who speaks as if he is God? Who can forgive sins but God only?" Jesus knew what they were thinking. He said to them, "Why do you think this way in your hearts? Which is easier, your sins are forgiven, or get up and walk? So that you may know the Son of God has the right and the power of earth to forgive sins." He said to the man who could not move his body, "I say to you, get up, take your bed, and go to your home." At once the sick man got up in front of them. He took his bed, went to his home, thanking God. All those who were there were surprised and gave thanks to God, saying, "We have seen very special things today." So there's different lenses and aspects in this, and I can't cover all of them. But I want us to think about that there are religious law keepers that are there, and they have this one lens, one lane, and they only see and hear what they want to, and nothing veers from that. And then you've got the person who has been on the bed and that we know he's motionless, that something has happened, but I read this as if there's a willingness that he has to get better. And that his friends are willing to do whatever it takes to cut open a roof, whatever it takes for him to get better. And I think this is an amazing story, but I also think no matter what it is, because see, there's times in our lives that we are willing to get better, we just don't know how. That we want to ask for a job promotion, we want to speak directly to our spouse, we want to get sober, we want to do something differently than what's happening. We just don't have a way, we don't know how to do that. And it takes amazing friends like this who are willing to say, "I'll help you figure this out," who will take you to that next thing, connect you to somebody, take you to a meeting, do something to get you to the next level. But to be the person that's on that bed, that in that moment is suffering from life circumstances and wants to get better and doesn't know how, that all of us at some point are going to be there. And it's important that we're that humble to be there and to know that that's where we are and to be able to admit that. But to be the person who's willing to carry you on the bedroll, willing to cut open the roof, whatever that means, getting you to a treatment center, getting you to the right therapist, getting you a friend, helping you know about a great church, whatever it is, to be the person who's carrying you on the bedroll, it is very important that that person is also willing to be the one who's laying on the bedroll, that's laying on the mat. It's so important that we not continue to neglect ourselves while we're just helping other people. If we're truly going to be a disciple, there is something about being humble and being willing at any time in our lives to be in the position of where we are and to help others, but to also know that we're worthy of getting help. And see, I think that leads us to the next story that I want to share with you, and this is about the paralyzed man. And this is John 5:1-10. Soon after the feast come around, and Jesus was back in Jerusalem, near the sheep gate in Jerusalem, there was a pool in Hebrew called Bathsheba with 5 alcoves. Hundreds of sick people, blind, crippled, paralyzed, were in these alcoves. One man had been an invalid there for 38 years. When Jesus saw him stretched out by the pool and knew how long he had been there, he said, "Do you want to get well?" The sick man said, "Sir, when the water is stirred, I don't have anybody to put me in the pool. By the time I get there, somebody else is already in." Jesus said, "Get up, take your bedroll, start walking." The man was healed on the spot. He picked up his bedroll and he walked off. See, I so resonate with being the person by the pool, being so close to something, some type of healing. Again, I don't care whether it's about getting to a treatment center, getting to a therapist, or being able to ask for a job promotion, having a voice in some way, being emotionally and spiritually paralyzed. I don't care what it is. I think so many of us know what it's like to be right there near something that can make our lives better, and we don't think we're worthy of it. I think we've been taught to deny ourselves. We've been taught incorrectly, and we've heard it and lived it as if we're supposed to neglect ourselves. And how easy it is to keep letting people go in front of us. That you get the job promotion, you get the salary increase, you get to have a different relationship with your husband or spouse, you get to find the right church, you get to do all these things. I'll stay right here. And it's not about not being willing. I think it's because we don't know we're worth things going well for us. You know, neglect of ourselves is one of the most psychologically difficult, detrimental, yet comfortable things that we can do. In my sobriety, when I've been at the most risk, when things have been the hardest for me, most dangerous, it's because things are going well. It's because I've learned some sense of closeness in relationships. I've learned for people to depend on me and depend on them, and it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't make sense. And that's emotionally dangerous to do well. I know how to be the sick person. I know how to just sit there and not be okay. And I think that's why Jesus says to him, do you want to get better? Do you want to be well? Because he doesn't know he's worth something more. I think what Jesus is saying to him is, are you ready to be in a relationship? Do you do more than just try not to be rejected? I think Jesus is offering him a way to get out of this emotional and spiritual paralysis and say, are you ready for things to be personal and for things to actually be good for you? Because that's hard for most of us. I had a patient years ago, and she's one of the worst intimate partner violence victims I've ever seen. And if you've ever been in my office, there's Kleenex strategically placed everywhere. And she came in for over a year. She came in and she sat there. And she cried constantly because she's playing that tape in her head of everything that man said to her. How unworthy she was, how unattractive she was. No other man would ever want her, that it was her fault that he hit her. And every time she cried, she would just hold on to her purse and she would rummage through her purse and take out Kleenex. And after a year of processing and releasing this and dealing with her trauma, after a year of rummaging through her purse for Kleenex, she looked up and she said, oh, you have Kleenex today. I said, yeah, I do. See, one thing is something old, something that's been there. Now that she's cleansing and getting out of this emotional paralysis, she can now see something new is in front of her, even though it's always been there. But one thing that she had to do, and why I learned that her purse was so important to her, because that was something that was still hers and it was comfortable. And I think when Jesus says to these two men, says, take your mat, take your bedroll, take that with you, get up and go. I think what Jesus is saying is that your life is about to get really uncomfortable. Take something with you that's comfortable. Take something with you that you know, because this is about to get really uncomfortable, really personal, and that means it can get really good. But for that to happen, we have to deal with it. Lies cripple us. Lies cause paralysis. See, you can hear truth, and some of you in here have heard worst case scenarios. You've had horrible situations in your life. And truth knocks us to our knees, but it does not paralyze us. We can still have movement. It's the lie inside of those things that stops us from having any movement, and that's the paralysis. I think those lies, that very thing that makes you think you're unworthy of being able to get in that pool and heal and have a life with Jesus, I think that very thing, I think that becomes our intersection. I think that can become the thing that becomes our cross to pick up and to follow Jesus with, because that thing that tells us you are unworthy can become the thing that now allows you to hold the bedroll of someone else and lower them down through the roof and to help them know that they are so worthy of a better life. So if we go back and look at Mark 8:34. I think we're all disciples. I think we all have opportunity that we can be there for someone else and find some way, find some roof that we can open for somebody else that we can do that. But I think that starts with acknowledging that denying ourselves, that what that really means, if we've been lied to about that, what that really means is to deny anything that makes you think you're not worthy of God's love. That's denying ourselves. And in that intersection, that place that gives you a unique, special, personal lens, that's your cross. That's the intersection. That's something that you can bring that no one else can bring. And the truth inside of that can cause us to step out of this paralysis and know that we're more than worthy of healing. So most of y'all know my story. You know that 28 years ago, I got sober. You're probably tired of hearing it. It's still my story. I'm going to tell you. And 28 years ago, I woke up in a detox center, and I knew where I was. Wasn't my first time someone put me in that detox center. But this time, in a 13-bed unit, I was the only patient there. For 5 days, there was no one else there but me and the staff. And the counselor there, her name was Linda. We're still friends to this day. She came in to my bed, and she sat down on it. Well, I'm there, and today I know symbolically I'm there right by the pool, right by the opportunity to heal. And she said, "Are you ready to try to not drink one day at a time?" She asked me, "Are you ready to know that it's okay to have a better life and that you're worth so much more than someone that drinks every day?" And the reason that Linda could do that, because see, there was a time in her life that she was stuck by the pool and not thinking she was worthy of being healed. And she had a moment with Jesus. And because other people came in and they took her to meetings and they helped her find a different way, now she is the disciple. She's the one that's standing right there by the pool, representing Jesus, showing me that I'm worth more than I ever thought possible. And that started a whole different journey for me of bringing in the idea that I am worth more than what people said, the things that influenced me, informed me, that they could be an old meaning, that I was allowed to have new meaning in this world. And I know the same is true for all of you that are here. That whatever it is that's built up that wall inside that tells you that your only safety is trying to keep people from rejecting you and abandoning you instead of inviting in who you are and then having room for who they are. That maybe this is a little bit of that wall gets to be broken down. And in that I want worth more now become the thing that helps you know that you are worth God's love and so much more. And that is how we learn to have new meaning, to break down the walls, to bring closeness in, to be able to depend on others without fear, have people depend on us as we learn what situation we are called to be people down through the roof, what situation we're called to acknowledge that we are in the bedroll at this time. Whatever it is, that honesty of breaking down that wall, that starts your own personal theology, your intersection, where you get to know that following Jesus is so much more than we were ever taught. Let me pray for you. God, I just pray that this would be the day that we are able to knock down some walls, to know that there is a personal theology that you've called us into, that we are allowed to be unique and special and have a personal relationship with you. And And it doesn't have to look like anybody else's relationship because you're so much bigger than that. I pray for any person here that feels like that they are emotionally and spiritually paralyzed, that they're right by the healing pool and they don't know what to do next. Will you give them an experience, Lord? We give them a warmth that lets them know that you are saying to them that you are worth so much more than anyone else ever told you. I pray, God, that this will be a church where we can take up our bedrolls, take up our mats, and walk away and be uncomfortable, but knowing that we have people right beside us, ready to cut through any roof, do whatever's next, so we can know more about what it's like to truly follow Jesus. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Come and tear down the walls I've built up, every wall I've built up, every wall I've built up. 'Cause you deserve every piece of my heart, every piece of my heart, every piece of my heart. Come and tear down the walls I've built up, every wall I've built up, every wall I've built up. 'Cause you deserve every piece of my heart, every piece of my heart, every piece. Lord, I am trusting that you are a faithful Father, and all that you have, it is good. You're a generous giver, you love like no other. Won't you come and bring it through to me over and over and over again? I am bringing my heart to you with open hands. Closer and closer, you're drawing me in as the depths of my heart lay before you again. Over and over and over again, I am bringing my heart to you with open hands. Closer and closer, you're drawing me in as the depths of my heart lay before you again.
Tear down the walls I built up, every wall I built up, every wall I built up. 'Cause you deserve every piece of my heart, every piece of my heart, every piece of my heart. And come, tear down the walls I built up, every wall I built up, every wall I built up. 'Cause you deserve every piece of my heart, every piece.